Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy JT here coming at you with another video, guys. Today I'm doing a quick little rundown of my tank setup for Hive of Gorgons raid on New World Aeternum, just so that people can have an idea of what I've been running since I've had a number of successful runs. I believe I've run it now 5 times, and only one of those was a pure fail. I guess I did run it 2 more times today, and they were both with just random groups of people, and neither of those were successful. But with the group that I play with, I've run it 5 times with them, and we were successful 4 out of 5 times. This is a tank point of view, so if you're a tank, this gear will be great for you. If you're not a tank, this probably won't work for you. Um, so yeah, let's jump right into the gear sets. I'm going to just be quiet for this first part of the video. I'll actually even turn my face cam off here so you guys can just see the gear that I'm using. In order, the first set that you'll see is the set I use for the main pulls. The second set is for Echidna. The third set is for Typhon. And the fourth set is for the Broodmother. So I'll just quickly scroll through all the gear, let you guys look at it, and then I'll do a little bit of talking about it. So here we go.
Mic off. Mic on.
All right, let's talk about it. So there's all my gear sets. If you just wanted to see them and not hear the explanation, that's all you needed right there. But I'm going to run through real quick and kind of explain my thought process behind each gear set. So I do have a couple disclaimers I want to throw out before I talk about these. Is one, I do not have BIS gear across the board. My gear is not best in slot everywhere. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this, that like some of my gear sets are like a little bit messy right now, but yeah, I don't have BIS stuff across the board, which is why some of them look the way they do. And then one other thing is the heart rune is the same exact thing in each gear set, so I only showed it on the first gear set, but it's the same heart rune for all 4 of my gear sets. So going into the main room, I think you could honestly probably get away with also using flail or hammer in main room. Greatsword is just personally my preference for holding aggro. It has an extra AoE taunt with the sword. I do have the same exact sword in every build. I got this drop from the very first boss that I ever beat in the raid, and this sword is absolutely BIS, so I just use it in all my sets right now. As my tank sword. But yeah, so I like the great sword. I think there's an argument for hammer or flail as well. Um, and then just kind of looking through the gear. So this main set is probably the weakest set that I have an argument for. I don't really know what's like actually good to use in terms of your protections for going through that main set. through those main rooms, so I kind of just have it split between a little bit of strike and then mostly slash, because I figure most of the mobs probably do slash. This might not be Biss, so this one is definitely the weakest of my gear sets. I don't die very often in the main pools, so I'm assuming what I have is fine. So I'm just going to skip on down to the second set. So this is for the first boss, Echidna. On Echidna, I do like to have Flail, just to be able to use the Fortify for my DPS who are hitting the other side of that boss. As well as I can use it for Barrage to reposition every once in a while, since that boss can push you around a little bit as the tank. So that's why I'm using Flail there. I think also that Finisher is one that I've used that's pretty good to use there. And might be better than the Flail, honestly. And then in terms of gear, so I think this boss does mostly strike. I probably need to switch some of my stuff out at this point. Like, I feel like you don't really need that much slash, especially as the tank. I think the only thing I really need to switch at this point is this should be a strike shield rather than a slash shield. And then I do want to call out here, too, that I use the Blood Drinker and Void Darkplate on every set. So I just put Nature Runes in it, just for the whole dungeon. Probably not the best thing. I probably need to switch those to strike, but that's just what we're rocking right now. But yeah, so probably would recommend going a strike shield, but having mostly strike. Let's actually look at the numbers, what I have right now. So yeah, right now we're looking at 25 slash, 35 strike. I just think it's too much slash. I mean, Echidna mostly does strike, so there's probably not much of a reason for that much slash. Probably should switch it out. But then one thing to call out too is I do prefer having slash conditioning where I can. So I know my boots are slash conditioning, my pants are slash conditioning, and maybe one. No, I don't have another piece. But yeah, and then I do like for main pulls where my earring has regenerating plus despised, and then for a lot of my earrings for bosses, I tend to just make sure I have despised on them, just so that I can hold aggro easier. And one reason I like Blood Drinker in this as well is just because it's a way for me to keep myself healthy, and it kind of just by default works on each boss decently well. Echidna is really the only boss of the three that has like a one-shot move. So, but most of the bosses in the raid, from a tank point of view, don't do that much damage to me with most of their abilities. So I like having Blood Drinker because I can kind of just top myself off by attacking and keeping myself healthy. Moving on to Typhon, which can be the trickiest boss to learn at first, but I think he's not as hard as he's being made out to be. I think a lot of random and pug groups are just having a hard time right now. As tank, I do a little bit of a mix between thrust and slash, just because those are the two damage types that I've seen him do the most. I think for tank POV, the biggest thing to keep in mind is when he envelops the mobs, if you don't kill them, that's when he's going to do a lot of damage to you. Or if you get hit by any of the spikes on the ground, those are going to destroy you. So those are really the only two things you have to be super careful of as tanks. So just making sure that you don't get too many bleed stacks and whatnot. But he really doesn't do that much damage. I was talking to someone earlier today who was like, yeah, I just use all onyxes, which is probably like a valid strat. So yeah, that's what we're looking like for Typhon. I don't think there's anything super special here. This is probably the boss I would most recommend Blood Drinker for. Just because my first time running this boss, Blood Drinker felt super duper good for me. Because like I could heal up a lot of the damage that he was doing, and it felt really solid, especially when the mobs come up. I think it's best for the DPS to take care of the mobs and me to just pull him off to like a side. So it makes it a lot easier to have the Blood Drinker to be able to heal yourself up there. And then the final boss, I think this is probably from the tank POV the easiest of the bosses. She really does a little bit of strike, but mostly you're going to be defending against nature because you're going to build up those nature stacks, when you're fighting against her, which you can get them cleansed by the people who are doing the cleansing in that fight. But I think I'm just rocking the 20% strike here, and then the rest is nature damage resist, which feels really good. And then one thing that I do here as well, One thing I do here as well that's probably a little bit unique is I do like to use the hatchet, just because when she runs away, you can still do a little bit of extra damage with your throwing hatchet. So I have Freya's in there right now, and just kind of chuck that at her. I'm thinking about testing Inferno to see if that also works as well. I don't know if it'll be as good as hatchet, because I do a lot of damage with hatchet, especially when I'm in Berserk. But just a fun little thing that I do there. I don't think there's anything else like super interesting on this set. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Again, I have beaten this raid quite a few times now and feel pretty comfortable about it, especially from the tank point of view. If you want to see what these raids look like with these builds, I did upload a video the other day of our successful runs, our first attempt actually successful runs. And of course I'm live on Twitch, so you can come and see the raids being done on Twitch whenever I do them. But hope that everyone is enjoying the new World Aeternum content. Super fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck in your Hive of Gorgon raids, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, swaggers.